GoldFish Report number 413. It's setting up my meeting for YouTube Live. Cool. This is a really technological feat. Okay, what I have to do is put that there. Hi, everybody. This is Louisa from the GoldFish Report. This is GoldFish Report number 413, and we are live tonight. This is our first live super chat Q&A with a returning friend of the GoldFish Report, our friend Rob Potter from Victory of the Light radio show. We are going to be talking about, we have a 2-hour, basically it's going to be a 2-hour presentation or altogether. The first half, Rob's going to give us some detail and some background about his contact with the Venusians. And of course, we're going to, Rob, what was so special about tonight is that Rob was going to be sharing some questions that he was able to ask get this, folks, the commander, her name is Orda Rahnes of the moon base called Clarion, that's on the moon. So this is really cool stuff. We are so excited about this. There's questions that Rob got to ask. We only have time for a few. Rob will present more at a later time. But how this is going to work, as I said, is we're going to initially have Rob do a presentation and some background regarding this interaction and his history with the Venusians. He has a beautiful poem. And of course, we have actual clips of the video itself, and you can hear the commander actually answer the question. So let me welcome back to the GoldFish Report my friend, Rob Potter. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you so much, Louisa. It's an honor to be here. Did you want to tell, I'm not sure how you're doing with the super chat. I guess I wanted to say, I want to thank you for having me on here. And, you know, we had talked about this privately. You have a full range of information that you share in the GoldFish Report. And some of your stuff, you know, it revolves in the politics. And this is a completely different level of information. So because I trust you, I'm very honored to share this information. And I want to make some things real clear here quick for people. Number one, all of this information, including this show, is completely free. You're going to get it. It's no problem. To support Louisa, she is having what she is now calling super chats to financially support herself. People say information should be free. Well, it is free. The questions aren't. You have to pay to go to college. You have to pay to get a book. You have to pay for your internet connection. So we need to get over that triggered response. Also, some people have said, is this message is so important? Look, the message itself, many of the questions that I asked I know the answers to have been asked and answered by others before, but I felt it was important for these questions to be answered by them personally. So I think the first question, Lisa, that Louisa will talk about at the end of my presentation, she's going to show is going to be the actual introduction to her. And I want to say a couple things. One, during this presentation, I was pretty giddy. I was pretty excited. I knew that this contact was happening. I didn't know when or where. They had arranged it. They, of course, can monitor everything. So they chose that when Raymond and I were in a library. I had my computer with me. I didn't normally carry it. For some reason, I carried it in. And I had my phone, and the phone was taken by the security chief. The sound quality is not the best. This is real. Now, realize I asked the questions previously. They wanted to see what my questions were. They negated a lot of questions, and they chose 8. And so they wanted to give an exact response. So be aware that she is reading these questions. And I understand you might have a problem, the fact she's wearing a red beret, but this seems to be what they're choosing to do when they appear publicly. And as they're appearing publicly now, ladies and gentlemen, it's the women, and we're going to get into that a little more. So, Louisa, maybe you can take it. You have any other comments or anything else you'd like to share?
Yeah, I wanted to just let everybody know that the Super Chats is going to be starting at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So anyone who has a Super Chat that wants to ask a question, only the questions, if you want the direct access to Rob, then you make a Super Chat donation, and that will get you a direct question to Rob, and Rob will answer it live on our live stream here. So, and I know that a lot of people wanted to do that. And so this is really exciting. This has been a much anticipated live stream that I know everyone's been waiting for, because we did a preview of this a week ago, and there was a lot of really great responses. And in the comment section, people were very excited about this upcoming program. I also want to remind our viewers that you can become a Patreon as well for the Goldfish Report and help bring more of these kinds of interviews to you. If you want to go to our website, you can go to thegoldfishreport.com, and you can find our Patreon link there as well. So there's many different ways people can help support the channel through Patreon, through or a direct donation through through our donate button on our website. But we're also going to be live streaming the next President Trump rally in Pennsylvania. So that would also be helpful to help get us there and live stream that as well. But what we're going to do is Rob's going to have a nice presentation to get started. This is very exciting, and I can't wait for Rob to show the actual, well, I'll be showing the video, but it's Rob's interview of he and Commander Orda Rahnes. And you're really going to be very excited. We only have time for a few of the question and answers from her. But after that, getting close to 9 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to we'll continue the conversation, but we will take Super Chats from our viewers. If you have questions, we were asking for a minimum of $20 Super Chats. So if you have a super chat question that you want answered, then you can put that in the chat bar. So also we're going to be screen sharing some of that video. And I think that we're all ready, Rob. Rob has a wonderful presentation set up for us. And I want to thank you for being here and sharing this with us, Rob, because Rob and I go back a couple of years now, quite a few years. And we've always been here for each other. So I'm really honored. Rob, thanks very much for giving the Goldfish Report the opportunity to present this really incredible material. It's very exciting material, I have to say. I'm very excited to show it.
Well, thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to begin my presentation in just a moment. First, I want to say Louisa works amazingly hard. I mean, I could not believe she's put out like 3 reports since we last talked. She is a tigress for the light. I think that's her hashtag now. She works tremendously hard, and I do support her in her concept of super chats, but she brought up to me before I even mentioned that I'm doing a show. She said, I'm doing this new thing and we'll start with you. And I go, well, okay. But this is a trigger for most people. So I want you to be nice, and I want you to realize that this information I'm going to be sharing is very groundbreaking and revelatory. And I'm going to speak, and I don't want to negate anyone else's beliefs, but there's a lot of information that's coming from other people on Earth. Well, someone said this, and someone said that, and someone channeled this, and someone said that. There's a lot of myths that I'm going to, well, not in this one, but there's a lot of myths I'm going to be busting in the New Age community in regards to certain things. And one of these is about ascension. And as far as proving these things, if you don't believe it, that's fine. Please, I would respect if you refrain your comments or questions in kind of an accusatory tone. If this is so-and-so, then that is that. Just try to think positive and keep your mind open to the possibilities here. And the reason that Raymond and I were chosen, well, Raymond was chosen, and him and I are very close. I tried to have him on the chat. He is finishing up his last, he sidelines as a limousine driver. He can't be here, but he'll be on the next show. And when you have the hard questions for him, you're going to be very surprised. He is basically, I think he's an adept, and I know he is, and he basically radiates the presence of love, and he'll be very kind and very gentle. No one has ever said a bad word about Raymond that I can imagine. who's ever met him or spent time with him. So to set the tone for the PowerPoint presentation, I've decided that, and excuse me, Louisa was schooling me on this technology. She's a genius. She's been figuring this out. So we may have a little glitches, but I think we've practiced a couple times for a while before here. But I'm going to read to you one of the part of the message is going to be released at the Conscious Life Expo. And this is going to be in February. This is a message to the people of the Conscious Life Expo. And you're also going to hear today some recorded messages from the Queen that were given to me last year and to the public. And we'll discuss those in a minute. But first, I want to set the tone of the Venusians. And first of all, it's talked about religion. First of all, I want to make one thing first. When I said this is the first public contact, well, there have been many contacts. There have been public contacts when Valiant Thor landed in the park in Alexandria, Virginia. The spaceship was seen. There's been public contacts in terms of people seeing them land. There's been crash. There's been many other extraterrestrial contacts, including official ongoing relationships with the government. And so this is not the first public contact in that sense. But if you think about it, folks, can they release the information to the government? Could they go on CNN or the mainstream news media with the pandemonium and the political distractions with wars and rumors and wars and this? No. The reason they're doing this is to support Raymond and I. You had something, Louisa?
No, I was, I just, let me know if you need anything for the PowerPoint.
Okay, we'll do that to that point. So if you think about that, they can't be seen to support any one country. The United Nations still has fallen short of its intended true status as a place of reconciliation where countries can work together and to share and resolve differences and actually work for the common good of humanity. So I'm going to be reading a message that she wrote because the Venusians do recognize Christ and they recognize all the avatars and teachers of truth and light. This is not about religion. This is about spirituality and the truth of the nature of the laws of the universe and who we are as soul. And we will be releasing a lot of information, Raymond and I, in the near future. And I'm going to be doing a seminar this summer. I'm not going to go into a big commercial, but I do have a lot of interesting products. I have my pyramids. Check out my website. But this is not about me making money. This is about the message of love. And so I'm going to read to you directly now, and I'm going to show it on the screen to set the tone, to calm down people. And if you have a problem and you want to start trolling or trashing me for speaking, quoting the poem of the supremacy of love, there's nothing else I can do. And I expect people to not believe it. I'm going to try and present evidence later on and photographic evidence. So here is the poem that she reads, and that will be released in full on my website, probably at the end of February. And it will be shared completely at the Conscious Life Expo. But the reason I am trickling down this information, folks, is because I want to do enough shows where the backstory is heard by the light workers. You light workers are saying, why don't they land? What's this? What's that? Where is the real contact? Well, I've told you the reasons why, and this is the first publicly acknowledged contact of the Venusians actually addressing the people in their own words. And I'm very honored that this has been given to me. And I want to share that this poem had a lot teaching for me, because for those of you who may know me personally, I'm not perfect. I have impatience. I feel the weight of the world and my desire to share all of this wonderful information. And I look at shows like this and other presentations, and I want to give all of the information at once and the whole backstory. But I realize I must be patient. But I have like it's the size of Lake Erie, and I have to funnel it into a plumbing pipe this big, and it comes out a little fast. And when I do my conferences, I'm not perfect, I'm impatient, but this message is for me because I have a lot of knowledge, and a lot of the things she says here, especially in the beginning, relate to me and have been a great message for me. So I have been a clanging empty bell in much of my stuff, because without love, what are all of these things? And I'm learning and growing every minute. So please don't judge me in my personal life. I'm pretty honest, sincere. And let me say this to those people who are going to dismiss this immediately. I'm not creating fraud. This is not a setup. This is real. I could have claimed this years ago. I've been a real contactee since I was 16, and I'm going to share the message now, and then we'll go into the PowerPoint. So here it is. And she describes I'll just read it directly from her words. Paul, called by a vision of the Christ in a flash of blinding light to become a messenger of truth, once taught those of earth an important doctrine esteemed by all of Venus in the lighter densities. 1 Corinthians 13, the supremacy of love. If I speak in the language of humans and angels but have no love, I become a reverberating gong or a clashing cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can understand all secrets in every form of knowledge, and I have absolute faith so as to remove mountains but have no love, I am nothing. Even if I give away everything that I have and sacrifice myself but have no love, I gain nothing. Love is always patient. Love is always kind. Love is never envious or arrogant of pride, nor is she conceited, and she is never rude. She never thinks just of herself or ever gets annoyed. She is never resentful, is never glad with sin. She is always glad to side with truth and pleased that truth will win. She will bear up under everything, believes the best in all. There is no limit to her hope, and never will she fall. Love never fails. Now, if there are prophecies, they will be done away with. If there are languages, they will cease. If there is knowledge, it will be done away with, for what we know is incomplete, and what we prophesy is incomplete. But when what is complete comes, then what is incomplete will be done away with. When I was a child, I spoke like a child and thought like a child and reasoned like a child. And when I became a woman, as she said, I gave up my childish ways. Now we see only an indistinct image in the mirror, but then we will be face to face. Now, what I know is incomplete, but then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known. Right now, 3 things remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. So that's the poem. And now I'm going to go into the other aspect of the screen share here. And let me share. I'm going to begin in the PowerPoint. Is there anything you'd like to talk about, Louisa?
Well, I would like to just tell all the viewers who are viewing right now how much I appreciate them being in our super chat, and I do want to say thank you to William who for his super chat, and the super chat Q&As will begin at 9 p.m. So if you have a question, you want to make a super chat, donation, you can ask a question starting around 9 p.m. But you don't have to make a super chat either. I mean, this is completely free to everybody, but it does help us support the channel. So, but I just wanted to explain how it works out. And so, if you can make a super chat anytime you want, but if you want to do the Q&A super chat, which means you do a super chat for a question, direct question, then that starts at 9 o'clock. I think that's pretty clear. If it's not, please let me know. But I'm looking at all of your comments, guys, and it's so good to have you join us and interact live. So I just wanted to say that, Rob. So thank you, and you can continue.
I want to thank you all for having patience with me and listening to this message. Now, again, there are going to be some amazing things I'm going to be sharing you that just sound like an absolute sci-fi movie. No more than Corey Goode, really, but this is Corey Goode hasn't had videos or have them talking. These are kind of secondhand stories. So here, The reason they did this was to support Raymond and I. So I hope that you will respect the sincerity with which I'm giving this message and the humility as much as I can do. And I'm going to do my best to answer your questions. I have a very good spiritual gnosis, and this is another part of my mission now. I've started off in the public recently with the disclosure and the discovery of the dark side, and I have lots of stuff I can share in the future, but I've gone into my healing technologies, which are available on the website, as you see there. So now I'm going to read this directly. And this, if you listen and get your pens and papers out, because there's a lot of things that are going to be released in this information. Be aware that this presentation is really a 4-hour or a 2-day workshop. So for me to go through this quickly, I've kind of made this PowerPoint leading into questions that you may have if you read between the lines. I'm going to be talking about time travel, ascension, translation. I'm going to be sharing you some evidence in these pictures, and then we're going to go into some other things. So here we go. The screen sharing has stopped. Is the shared window? Are you? Am I sharing screen?
Yeah, you're on.
Oh, okay. So I got to get rid of that.
There you go.
I'm calling this Meet the Venusians, and Rob interviews and records on his camera the Venusian commander Orda Rahnes. With the help of Dr. Raymond Andrew Keller II, Rob sends 8 questions to the Venusian Queen Lady Orda. These questions were answered in an interview by a messenger for the Queen at an undisclosed location in the eastern United States on November 20th, 2019. Which was the 67th anniversary of George Adamski's first contact, by the way. This moon base, Clarion's commander, is Rob's most recent Venusian contact. She is the commander Orda Rahnes, who has been in service to the Earth for at least 300 years. The Venusians allowed the interview to be recorded in what is now the first official contact of the people of Earth in recent history. This was done in support of the efforts of Dr. Keller and me to share the reality of the Venusians. This long-awaited message is confirming our friends from Venus are real, and they have good intentions toward all mankind. Their love for us and their support for the dissemination, I've got to move my little thing here, of truth directly to the people. We are in contact. And I want to say this. For those of you who are not resonating to the message, and I understand completely the shock and disbelief and all this, and, you know, he's overweight, you know, I saw him smoking pot, but I didn't inhale. So all of these personal foibles I may have, they have to start somewhere. And this is for you, the light workers. Get beyond the me and the person. The information is going to be groundbreaking, revelatory. But it is about love, and it is a spiritual message. So I want to make that clear when all of these thoughts go through your mind. And I understand you don't believe. If you don't, that's fine. I just don't want disrespect of Raymond or myself in calling us fraudsters or hucksters. So now the backstory. The gentleman that you see here in the picture, and I don't know, it looks like it's doing something. I don't know. I must have pushed something, but there's a picture of me and Raymond in Mount Shasta at my conference last summer. She's talking to us. No.
Are you sitting on some kind of Rob?
I don't know what it is. It's just doing something here, and
it's really funny. I never saw
anyway,
that before.
So that's a picture of him and her. When I first was there, I wanted to shield him from government observation. So I was going to take a picture of my own, and then he took a picture. We should have taken the picture, all 3 of us together. But so you know, this contact was arranged by me asking questions, and I've asked a series of questions, and you're going to get the answers in written form today. I'm going to read them, and you're going to hear some of the answers to China. The personal questions and answers to me, I'm probably not going to release. It's kind of they're very nice to me and they say some very nice things. And I don't want, it's kind of an ego trip, it would seem like, because they say some nice things about me. So I'm not going to release those, except maybe I release them to friends in the past. So that's Raymond. And you saw Commander Rahnes is out of the screen now. Raymond's, oh, they're flying away. Okay, so let's get to the next picture. So after his return to Earth, I think I mentioned Raymond was taken to Earth, or taken off the Earth in 2012. He was in Wuxi, China, and the woman in the third picture of his book, Excellent Adventure, this is the Queen of Venus, and her name is Lady Orda. And he was there for 2.5 months, and shortly after his return to Earth, he began to writing this Venus Rising trilogy, earning him the title of the Venusian historian. He continues to write about his favorite topics, Venus. His books are available online at Amazon, and I highly recommend The Secret of Truth to study these books diligently. And I want to say that these first 2 books are pretty hefty. They're quite big. And he wrote the first 2 books in 2 years, which is unbelievable. And I've spoken about this in the other show, and I'm going to kind of go into this. And maybe you guys can take notes here. I want to go through this because I want to get to the messages and I want to get to your questions. But the Queen was born in 1585, and we're going to go into that in a little bit. And we're going to talk about translation. So between the lines here, you'll have questions to ask, and I'm going to share the evidence. Look at this picture of Raymond. This was 13, and we're now in 19. This was 7, almost 8 years ago. And this is the Queen. Look at how she looks. Also, please note her sandals. All right? This is going to be important when we're discussing the time travel. Watch this. Okay. So after Raymond came out with his books, that woman that you saw had been named the Queen of Venus in 2012. The Mayan calendar, which is related to the cycles of Venus and is very intimately associated with the planet Venus, their cycle ended on December 21st, 2012. So in 2020, she took him to Venus. They went to Tibet, to a lake on the Tibetan plateau, and there's a monastery on an island in the lake. And they traveled in a personal transportation device known as a nimbus. Raymond said when they came in, he saw 5,000 nimbuses landing, and he saw over in a valley between 2 giant mountains, Commander Valiant Thor's Victor 1 craft and the ISIS commander, Lady Ankara, also known as the Mormon saint Annalise Scarron, who was translated to Venus. Now, these 2 women were sent by the Queen, just like the other lady was sent to me, to Raymond. Oops, I don't know how that happened, so I got to go back. So these ladies are the now translated Venusians. Meet on the left, Lady Columba, and on the right, Lady Aurora. These women were formerly of Earth and are ascended and sent by the Queen of Venus to congratulate Cosmic Ray on the release of his first 2 books in June 2017 in location at a little kind of New Age center. I'm going to give you a history. The girl on the left was born in 1902, and she served in the Christian socialist movement in India in the early 1920s. And she met this woman on the right. The girl on the left, in her incarnation on Earth, was known as Annabelle Krebs. She was an artist of some renown. The woman on the right was born in 1885 in Rishikesh in India, which is near Lakshman Jula and Hardwar, the gateway to the Himalayas. And you can see the beautiful light shining in these women's eyes. And the woman at this meeting, the girl on the left gave Raymond some books she had written. She died in 1995 at the age of 93. And she didn't actually die because she had been working with this woman on the right and her Indian master throughout her life. I'm going to share that story now. The woman on the right was working in the East India Company, and she was helping the East India Company, or the British colonialists, as they were trekking in the Himalayas. They came down. There was a beggar who was ill and infirm by the side of the road. And they said, leave him. She says, you won't get paid. She says, I don't care. This man's sick and ill. I'm going to help him. She walked him down the steep range into Lakshmanjula in the Himalayas, and it took 5 days. When she got there, he revealed that he was a master. She had great compassion, and he took her to Venus. And this is a theme that's going to be continued throughout this series of information. Venus plays an important spiritual role in our life and in our planet's history as the main neighbor and confederation that we will belong to when we are worthy to join the Galactic Confederation. Some people have said that we're members of the Confederation, but think about it. I mean, we have wars, murdering. It's just insane. There's no way we're ready. And we'll talk about what we will need to do as a people in the community to reach that. She worked with this girl and this other girl also when in her late 40s and 50s. In the early 50s, was working with a very famous UFO contactee named Truman Bethlehem. And this will be revealed in more of my workshops, and more details of this backstory and information will be provided. And she actually in 1950 or in the 50s, I can't say 50, I don't know that for sure, I want to be clear, but Truman Bethlehem worked on a mountain range overlooking the nuclear testing zone. The Venusians were very concerned with nuclear testing and what the damage it would do. So they asked him, Commander Rahnes actually contacted him and asked him to report on nuclear tests. And so he did so. And she became his secretary and had her own contacts. In the 50s, she was invited to a Galactic Confederation meeting on the cloaked moon of Venus. And being an artist of some renown, she drew pictures. These will be released in the book that she gave to Raymond. She wrote most of this book, but did not finish it in her lifetime on Earth. When she ascended, she got her book and she took it to Raymond, and he is writing her book with chapters written from her ascended state. And he's working on that book currently. It's going to be very exciting. And in this book are pictures of her translation. Now, the woman on the right in the Indian, I don't know how what her translation mode was. I believe she was taken there, probably exposed to the Vril technology, which we talk about the med beds and you want healing and long life. I'm going to share about that later on in another message. But the woman on the left, when she got there, the day before she died, her master came and appeared. He took her DNA and he took a thing on her head, downloaded her memory. She went to sleep that night and woke up in the body you see as a young woman. That's called translation, not transition. Okay, that's one form of ascension. Another form is you die and you would ascend. And typically it's into the next planet in our chain, which is Venus. So that's one ascension. Another ascension would be to the galactic central sun, which is the highest ascension, and Venusians aren't even doing that on a regular basis. But it is something that we can look forward to in our future. So now I'm going to introduce you. Here's the queen, the beautiful lady that you see here. Is known as Lady Orda, who is ascended to Venus in the miracle of translation. She was born on Earth in 1585 in the Pyrenees region of Spain, and she was visited by who we know as the accidental apostle, Lord Dismas, who died with Christ on the cross. He said, "You'll be with me this day in paradise." He's more commonly known as the ascended master El Morya, who now stands as the regent of Venus. El Morya visited her in the year 1600 as she was fleeing the servitude in a Catholic nunnery that her parents had given her to. And unbeknownst to her, and after this visitation where the master told her to escape a southern route and to contact a certain bishop, she realized she wasn't aging. I'm going to fast forward through her story. There's more that I reveal in other areas. But she eventually met him in 1830 in Mount Shasta, California, where he took her through a portal to Venus. And she's been a dual citizen of Earth and Venus ever since. And she has since been named the new queen on December 21st, 2012. When Raymond went up, there was a big stadium filled with Venusians, and they watched the ascension of the previous queen, a Chinese saint known as Lady Ma Zhu, who they say calmed the Jade Ocean. And he watched her walk out, step into her nimbus, which is a lotus, looked like a flower, a rose with petals. And it closed up after they showed a hologram of her life of service on Earth and on Venus, and she ascended to the grand central sun. So when you look at the Buddhists who are very close and the Tibetans, the Tonkas with all the Buddhists floating in the sky with the flowers, that's them traveling in a nimbus. Okay? So George Adamski's first contact, for those of you who might follow the first contact movement, was in November 25th, 1952, as he was telepathically guided to the first publicly acknowledged contact in the desert with a Venusian called Orthon. In fact, the first contact was with Lady Orda, a woman. The reason she told him, "Tell him I am a man," is that it was felt that the Earth Society in 1952 could not handle a woman being in a position of authority. Oops. Oh, there it is. I went back, sorry. But it's true, folks. The first modern day contact of benevolent people from outer space that became public was from our closest and planetary neighbor, Venus. So, ladies, it's a matriarchal society on Venus. So get ready for the next step and level. So I want to say one thing here. There's a lot of things going on here. So unfortunately, or fortunately for us, because we have records, the Queen has actually been recognized 2 times as possibly being a Venusian, and both of them are 1954. The first is chronicled in these 3 pictures on the left that were taken in Palomar, is with Adamski. She had come to support him in one of his first talks, and she brought along with her these 2 gentlemen. I think the one on the left is named Furkan. The one in the middle there is named Ramu. Now notice again her sandals. This picture was taken by a Brazilian photographer in 1954 in the newspaper. Okay? Both times she was wearing her favorite Venusian sandals. Look at the one on the right. First in the timeline of 1954, and in the second photo sitting on a rock during her time travel mishap. And I'll get into that. They were in a bilocated nimbus. Kaz and she were traveling and crashed as the tachyon drive was disrupted by the radiation in 1954. Did you have something to say, Louisa?
No, I'm just itching.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Just so our viewers know, I have some kind of really bad skin condition that I've developed in the past few weeks, and I'm itching on all of my reports. It is horrible, but I'm trying to get past it. Sorry, Rob.
Anyway, it's okay. We had a thing. If she wanted to talk, she'd raise her hand. So I just saw at the corner of my eye. So this other picture is quite amazing. I'm going to go into the time travel story a little bit, and this is simply going to, I've already blown your mind. You're going to see evidence of a Venusian talking, but the time of data dump and disclosure is now here. I've heard that there's a woman, kind of cute Russian accent or something, talking about recorded messages from the Pleiadians. And this may be true. They're communicating through radio. But the Venusians are in charge of our solar system. I wanted to make a couple things clear. There's many different confederations, and we belong to a federation that is comprised of 51 planets, 51 systems, and 601 planet. And it extends and includes planets in the Pleiades, Sirius, Tau Ceti, Alpha Centauri, and many others out through us. We're out on the edge. It's the wild, wild west out here. We're on the edge of the galaxy. Now, because of her long life on Venus, or on Earth, it was 430 something years in 2012 when she ascended to Venus. So the Venusian hierarchy of light chose her wisely to have a woman with a long time of experience on Earth because of our importance in the relationship that Venus is having with the Earth during this troubled times in our transition to the fourth dimension. So she was not only named the head of the Venusian planet, known as the queen of the collective of Abahar, and Abahar means planet of the bees, but she's also been named the head of the Council of Saturn, of the solar hierarchy of light, in regards on the physical plane at least, for the entire solar system. As for those of you who followed the early contactees, there was a man named Monka in some of the original contacts. So, and not only is she the head of that system, but she's in charge of our solar system. But of those 601 planets, she is the representative to the Universal Confederation. And this is a federation that comprises many different federations. I'm going to make this clear. Semyasi, who I met when I was much younger, is from the planet Era. And they are in what is called a non-allied group, not involved in our confederation. It doesn't mean they're positive or negative. They're very positive. They're very beneficial. But them and any other physical plane beings who come here to interact on the Earth will go through the Venusian protocols and must go through a learning on the planet, the artificial moon called Ganymede. So there's a lot of information there. You got lots of questions going on. So there's a time crash nimbus, and I'm going to let you come up with that in our chat. How's our time doing?
We are at we had like 3 minutes to the signal point that you wanted. We're almost 45 minutes
Okay,
in.
I'm going to have to go this quick. So here's, I need to read this for you real quick. Of course, I knew this would happen. So this time travel is a reality. Here is the evidence as far as we are allowed to share at this time. The first picture is a picture of Raymond Keller, The Cause and the Queen by Gabriel Green. The background in 1972, the background is redacted for security reasons. Raymond said there was a background that he couldn't even tell me about. The second picture is in 1954/2013 timeline, the first giant rock convention. When he was on Venus and the Queen was installed, she said, "Do you want to stay there?" He said, "Yes." And so Ascended Master Moria was there, and he made his way to Moria and said, "Can I look at the Akashic records?" And Moria said, "Yes." Then she went to the Queen, said, "Can I look at the Akashic records?" She said, the Metron time, masters are not really into people from Earth looking at the Akashic records. She said, "Well, we'll have to ask Lord Dismas." He said, "I did." He said, "It's okay." So she goes, "Step on down. We're going to the time temple." They went in there and they said, "Queen, you're new here. We don't normally allow people." She says, "Lord Dismas says it's okay, and I want him to access it." So he spent every day going to access, and he would get involved in a technology that was connected to his own thoughts, where he would access the Akashic records, which are located underneath the ice caves on Uranus in a fourth dimensional capacity that contain all the life records of every person, and he looked at his own. And his first incarnation, he was ascribed Publius Virgil Moro. So there you see her, and look at the sandals. Here you see the one in 54. Look at the sandals here. They're not the same pair, folks, but I guess they're the Venusian style of sandal. And that's about as far as we can go in proof. The other picture is from Supergirl. Now, this is a picture of a nimbus, which is called a security device, a transportation vehicle, and when on Venus in the time Metron table is a bilocation time travel device. And this image is from the Supergirl comic, inspired by the Garrett's release of this photo at Giant Rock, when Kaz and Lady Orda crashed, the Nimbus crashed because of radiation. And I'm not going to be able to get into this because I need to get quickly to the other things. And folks, you're just going to have to either get this next time. So now this message is the first message ever given by the Queen, a recorded message. She did this to help support my conference in Mount Shasta in July 2018. It was quite exciting. I didn't know about it, but it was quite exciting for me to know the head of the Venusian Collective knew about my conference with Omnic, Cosmic Ray, and even Louis Martens. So here it is, Louise. I'm going to let you take over, and you're going to play the recording of this message.
If you can let me screen share, I'll be happy to do that.
Okay, I'll start my screen share. All right.
Yeah, I just want to finish my comment to one of the viewers I'm chatting with our viewers. This is wonderful. It's really great, Rob. This is our first time doing this. I'm so excited to be chatting with our viewers live. It's really fun. So I'm happy about that. So this is the Valentine's Day message. Is that correct, Rob?
Yep.
Dear friends of Venus, the solar hierarchy of light
Hold on.
Extends joyous greetings to the inhabitants of the earth.
It's a little. Yeah.
This is Queen Orda of Abehar speaking to you on a recorded message delivered to our emissary, the incarnation of Publius Virgilius Maro, the one commonly known amongst you as the Cosmic Ray, Dr. Raymond Keller, the author of the Venus Rising trilogy of books, on Sunday, 10 February 2018. You should be receiving this message on the night of Valentine's Day, Wednesday, 14 February 2018, over Rains Radio. Our love and thanks are also extended to our cosmic brothers Jeff Ramsey, Frank Chile, and all the other brothers and sisters working diligently behind the scenes at Rains Radio, bringing to the public's attention the truth that is out there, the truth about intelligent life forms feeling the immensity of space and their visitations to Earth in the Venturas, beamships, SOAPs, Merkabas, and other ethereal star vessels that your military and political authorities have erroneously referred to as unidentified flying objects. The planet Abehar, or Venus as you know it, represents the highest manifestation of love and peace in the solar system. Your ancestors from the remote past recognized our world as the celestial sign for the goddess of love and beauty, as well as the herald of peace and understanding. On this night of Saint Valentine, it is duly recognized by the solar hierarchy of light emplaced on Abehar that a message of love and peace is exactly what your world's perplexed inhabitants require at this time for the purposes of securing their own mutual development and bringing about the long prophesied Aquarian age of enlightenment and universal understanding. It saddens us that your governments and religions so burden you with endless laws and ordinances, completely ignoring the sound advice of the Master Teacher Jesus the Christ, sent among you 2 millennia ago, who taught the simple principle of unfailing kindness in love for the infinite Creator, as expressed and manifested through love for your own divine essence in the embodiment of the celestial spark that indwells and permeates all of your neighbors. Remember that the angels of the celestial worlds, and particularly of Abehar and the other planets of our solar system, both seen and unseen, forever attend you. As the human being is well motivated by love, our advice is to continue to manifest kindness and good works, for you never know when you shall find yourself in our presence. Your manifestations of love will garner you the prize of life, both happy and eternal. This is how we shall build a new earth and, in turn, bid you entrance to the glories of Abehar and other orbs in the pleroma. We, along with our brothers Cosmic Ray and Frank Chile, as well as our sisters Onek and Sherilyn, look forward to meeting you on the slopes of Mount Shasta on the 27th through 29th of July for the From Venus with Love World Conference. Our blessings are transmitted to you and yours on multidimensional planes for a happy Valentine's Day. Keep love in your heart every day so that each and every one becomes a special Valentine's celebration. I regret that I cannot speak to you live at this time, as I am conducting an important mission in the Saturnian system. This is the Queen, Orda of Abehar.
Okay, so as you heard there, again, this is a spiritual message. They recognize all ascended masters of all teachings and all religions, and they seek to unify us under the umbrella of love. And, you know, as far as this is not a personality worship or a battle. This is about truth and following the universal laws of the Creator, and Christ pretty much demonstrated that. And because of the time, I'm going to have to just cut this completely short. We're going to go now. I'm going to get Louisa to play a little bit of the second message. The people of China, Raymond and I went to China. I went there for 50 days out of 70 between January and March 31st. And during my second run, I bought Raymond along and we did some presentations, and the authorities didn't like what we said. They basically arrested us, imprisoned us. Well, not imprisoned us, interrogated us, revoked our visas and deported us. And they really slapped the people hard, the light workers there who bought us there. They fined them $7,000 and forced one beautiful, just a sweetheart. She had a little light center community. She was bringing over, you know, different speakers from around the world, and the tradition that we do, the woo-woo meditation, hold hands, circles, meditate, invocations, and they shut her down. She had to sell her business. And so Valiant Thor gave some presents to them. But this next message, they had asked about tachyons, and I had asked questions as well about my pyramid systems and how they work. So this is kind of a technical thing. It's an 8-minute long one. I'm going to say, you know, you can listen to the message. The reason I want to give this message is because it really shows her chops. This is that woman in black and white, Georgia Dempsey's first contact. She's showing her scientific chops in physics. So when you talk about tachyons and you listen to my questions and the questions from the Chinese, it's going to really blow your mind. So Louisa, I'm going to go ahead and share the screen, and they can read my little introduction while you play the message live. So you go ahead.
Well, I need to use screen share. Right. Sorry about that, Rob.
Don't worry, I skipped the technical stuff, and we worked really hard. Louisa and I went through some dress rehearsals where it was a madhouse, but we're doing pretty good.
It's okay. Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. So I'm going to play that. I'm going to screen share right now, and I'm going to school screen video clip. I don't want to optimize the full screen right now because there we go. Wait a minute. Yeah.
Only play like half of it, I think, you know.
Where'd it go? Okay. Here we go.
Seekers of truth in the Victory of the Light study groups scattered throughout China. I heartily commend you for your diligent efforts in bringing a profound celestial gnosis and illumination to your fellow beings on the Asian continent and beyond. It is a great honor for me, personally, to follow in the footsteps of your dearly beloved Lady Mazu, now an ascended master in the pleroma facilitating the peaceful progress of your planet and many others in the vast star fields of the Milky Way galaxy. Remember that she will always be with you, even unto the end of time, as you understand it to be. Robert Potter of Mount Shasta, California, has submitted a list of your questions for my consideration. Here are my answers, my thoughts on these important matters. What can you tell me about tachyons? Tachyons are subatomic particles, neutrinos, accelerated by high energies that can move faster than the speed of light. They are the constituent particles of an antimatter universe known by your scientists as Dimension X. Are tachyons freely available on Earth at this point in time? Well, because tachyons are constituent to neutrinos in their electron, muon and tau subatomic particles with a mass close to zero, they are considered rare in the third-dimensional physical universe. To detect one or more, a special type of cloud chamber is required, one that can trace the path of ionized radiation particles. Is there a veil blocking tachyons from coming to Earth? Yes, there is. It's known as the speed of light, which is approximately 186,000 miles per second. The neutrino must be hyper-accelerated, and once it nears the speed of light, it sheds its tachyons that blink out and magically reappear in dimension X, having jumped out of our space-time continuum altogether. At the point the tachyons break off from the neutrinos, a shock wave is created that shows itself as a blue flash of Cherenkov radiation. In dimension X, each tachyon splits in two, with one particle moving forward in time and the other moving backwards in time. This is in accordance with their spin and electrical charge, whether positive or negative. How can we break the veil or circumvent this block? Well, tachyons can be modulated through radar beam transmissions. Are tachyons available from pyramids? Certain locations on planetary surfaces lend themselves to an intersection of magnetic lines of force. These can serve as attractors for neutrino particles. Psychics and certain others sensitive to these magnetic lines have accessed energies from these spaces and have erected structures of a spiritual nature to denote the special locations of particle concentration where cosmic rays of or neutrinos impact the Earth and actually travel through it. Is the subatomic anu from the logoic or monadic plane created by pyramids consistent with the definition of tachyons? Well, these terms derived from 19th century theosophists that denote areas of the cosmos resonant at much higher frequencies in lighter densities than are found in our own dimension. In this sense, the spiritual nature of the phenomena indicates the presence of a higher dimensionally or dimension X existing as it is in a tachyon field. Are my pyramid system creating tachyons? No. Together with higher human consciousness, they may be attracting these particles. Any device used in association with the pyramid systems may augment the temporary reduction of a tachyon particle to a photon luxon, a particle moving at the speed of light, or perhaps a bradyon, which is any other particle moving slower than the speed of light.
Okay, that's
okay, that's good. This is great stuff, Rob. I have to tell you, I really can't wait to hear the rest of it. But go ahead.
Yeah, this is kind of for a certain element of physicists and scientists. I'm able to ask questions now. How that takes place is Raymond or I don't know when any contact's going to take place, but we can prepare questions and we could lay them on our table and they'll just be gone. So that's how it takes place.
Okay, are we going to go to...
We're going to go right into the video now.
We're going to go into the video. Okay. I just want to tell everybody how exciting this is. So this is the part I've been probably, I appreciate the back history and everything, but this is exciting stuff. So it's all exciting, Rob. Thank you for bringing this to us.
Yeah, and I do want to say, they look just like us. And one level was anticlimactic. They are fourth dimensional beings. They lower their vibration a bit to come here just as the Pleiadians who are in the fourth dimension. And not to blow the lid off of anyone's idea about the fifth dimension, but the Earth's not ascending to the fifth dimension in any time soon. The planet won't be celestialized for a long time. Can you imagine Earth in our condition, some magic wand waves, and we're going to accelerate like a car in Fast and Furious on nitrous past the Venusians and past the Pleiadians into the fifth dimension? No. They're individual ascensions all the time. Many people have been ascending and ascend all the time. And the interaction, beware lest you entertain angels unaware, is ongoing. They're here, many of them all the time. And the government has diplomatic relations with them. And the information I was going to share but don't have time will be released. Also, again, realize I'm a little giddy, excuse the sound quality, and we realized we had to read. To be honest, I'm telling you folks, I wasn't listening to the questions because they're being recorded. I was just looking at it going, my God, that's really, I'm finally reading and they've admitted it. And so on one level was anticlimactic because I was expecting my first, spaceship ride of a meeting to ask a lot of personal questions. And, later on when you hear the whole thing, they basically said, it's over, we're going to go now. They were basically telling me, and they kept it to 30 minutes and they were in and out. So just take those things into mind when you hear these questions. Go ahead. Take
Rob,
her away.
everything is perfect. I wouldn't worry about a thing, my friend. So I'm going to play the 3 questions. We're only going to play some of them because of time, because we want to get to Q&As. So we're going to play 3 questions. We're going to start with the very first one, which I think is the most important one to start. Just so you know, I'm not going to be able to see the chat because I'm going to maximize the screen for all of you so you can get the best view of Commander Rahnes. Oh, this is exciting. So, Rob, I'm going to include the intro though that you gave
Please
because
do. Yeah,
I think that
absolutely.
was important to include. Okay, good. So let me get that up on my computer. Maximize my volume here so we can make
And
sure
while
we.
you're doing that, while you're sharing, I'm going to say that the camera was held by the security chief, Alan. He was born in 400 BC. Or 600 BC. He's 2,400 years old. He is now the security chief of Venus, which is called Shanaruna, and Shan means earth. And he knew Daniel Fry, George Adamski, and others, and he held the camera. Quite an amazing guy. Okay, go ahead. Let it rip.
Okay, this is
And
the interview.
Stop it at the moment. Watch. Okay.
Stop it where at the first question?
After the first question, and then we'll talk, and then you can
Yes,
go on to
no problem. I thought you were asking something else. Okay, let's listen. This is very exciting, and this is the photo. This is the picture of Commander Rahnes. This is so awesome. All right, let's go. It gets louder in a second.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. And this is a very, very special interview on the Victor of Light radio show and the blog. I'd like to welcome the promised friends, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor to introduce you to Commander Lady Orda Rahnes.
Hello.
She's in service to the Earth as a leader of the moon base and the commander on the backside of the moon on the colony they call Clarion. She is coming here as an authorized representative of the Venusian and the solar hierarchy of light. She's uniquely qualified to answer my questions. I must tell you, Commander, it's a great honor to meet you, and I wish to thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for coming here and offering this information to the people of Earth that is very much needed at this time.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Okay.
I can get it.
Commander Rahnes, can you tell us at this time of the overall intentions of the mission of the Venusians and the Galactic Federation and Star Family on Earth, and why you're here in ever-increasing frequency? Perhaps you might tell us of our past history of relationship to Venus and the Galactic Family.
Certainly I will. I have prepared my notes as well. And I just wanted to mention that human technological advances in areas of weaponry, delivery systems, and artificial intelligence have necessitated an increase in the Venusian presence on Earth. These advances by nations on Earth have outpaced any spiritual attunement that is necessary to properly channel these technological advances into more positive areas of investigation and application that will benefit all of humankind, and not just the selfish interests of national leaders. We, that is to say, the Venusians, have been interacting with your world on many levels since before the dawn of recorded human history.
Mm-hmm.
Our emissary, Omnic Onic, and our historian, Dr. Raymond Keller, have provided further light and knowledge in their respective books on this subject.
Okay, that was the first question, Rob, and the introduction.
Okay, why don't you pull up the second one, and I'll just say a little bit. if you notice in the middle, and you can watch in the next section while she's pulling this up, above us was the word romance. you know, uh, so the planet of love and Venus, and you see the little cute little red beret. If you look closely, my girlfriend that I had in China until I got deported and ended our relationship,
Got
really,
deported.
it's just a
What a
sweetheart.
story, Rob.
She gave me a bunch of these little bees, and you'll notice that Commander Rahnes is wearing one of the bees that I had sent to the Venusians as a bunch of gifts. So, did you find the time signature here?
Yes.
Okay.
5:30. Yes, sir. Okay, this is the next question,
Well,
which
Louisa's chosen the
Okay.
questions, folks. Of the 7 or 8 questions, I just let Louisa choose.
thank you, Rob. All right, here's the next question.
Words of wisdom to help us understand what has gone wrong in our places of worship. Can you give us the good news of understanding from a spiritual perspective on what are the root causes of our limited understanding and the errors, not only of human thinking, but of our priests and teachers in these secular religions? How should we approach religion and show tolerance for others' faith?
Well, Brother Rob, I will go to an example. In ancient Egypt, certain individuals paid sufficient attention to the skies in order to astronomically determine the times for planting, for harvesting, and that was based on an alignment of the stellar constellations that coincided with the flooding of the Nile and the deposits of silts suitable for agriculture along its banks or in the Delta region. They parlayed this knowledge into taking power as priests and kings to rule over the people. The people asked, "How can these people tell when the sun shall be blacked out, or the moon shadowed, or a streak of light to appear in the vault of the heavens? They must be gods, or appointed by the sky gods to rule over us." This type of Wizard Oz scenario has never stopped being played out here in your world. Eventually, people will catch on to the game. Of course, God is a spirit, and the indwelling spirit of God is within each of us, a small spark that can become fanned into a brilliant flame. Listen carefully to the small, quiet voice that speaks to your heart, because that voice is the one that emanates from the true spiritual guides and masters that walk and live among you.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Listen to the voice within your heart. That's why I
Yeah,
selected this answer.
yeah. And the reason I use the words religion, and again, I'm speaking to my brothers and sisters, light workers, and also to those of you who are claiming I'm Satan in the dark side, and it
Oh my
doesn't
God.
coincide with Yahweh or Jesus or whatever, or the Buddhist or whatever, or it doesn't say Krishna. It's all one. We have to go to this understanding that we can't look to seek and divide ourselves. We need to find the truth. So the reason I ask that is because, in the Christian religion, we want to we call them the heathens. We want to go and convert them and beat them, the Indians, the South Americans, and the Catholic Church. In the Muslim countries, if we use a different name, if it's not Allah, they want to get us. I mean, they're fighting, and this is just insanity. We're all one people. Can't we get along? I've asked them, are we concerned about the pole shift? And they go, no. We're not concerned about a pole shift because the magnetic shift happens all the time. A pole shift is due. It comes every 5,000 years and will happen in the next 500. In Raymond's forays into the future and the possible timelines, it's about 500 or 600 years away. So that is real. It will happen, and hopefully we can be at a level of understanding at that point. And as far as these religious questions, I wanted people to see in terms of how they would answer that for those people who have these faiths and why you're judging other people. They said, we're more concerned with what you people do to each other. And you'll hear that in our next conversation. Let's go with the third question,
Okay.
which is a good one too.
Yeah. So let me get that
Not so
key.
spiritual, so to speak, but
15.
I thought it was important.
I'm going to just try to line it up so we can make sure we hear your whole question.
Yeah.
And yes. Not a perfect.
That's good. Looks like I'm going to talk right there.
You are talking. You're asking the question, and this is Okay.
And it does not really exist on Venus.
Go
As your
back.
society
Yeah, I
works.
know. I know, Rob. I'm trying to line that up. So,
And we just have to find a way to prevail.
okay. So,
Okay.
here we go.
I realize money, which is a big obstacle in the way that we think and deal with each other. And it does not really exist on Venus, as your society works as one mind in accordance with natural universal laws. What can you tell us about how we of Earth will eventually and possibly move forward to create abundance and prosperity like that is enjoyed by the Venusian society here on Earth?
Again, it seems to be that a false belief is coming into play. The economic problems on Earth are largely due to false belief that's imposed by the leaders on this planet. And it's in many fields that there is only so much that can go around. This means that your people must fight over the crumbs of pie, let alone getting a full slice of pie, which of course can only be enjoyed by your oligarchs. On Venus, we long ago determined that the solution to this problem is to bake more pies so that everyone can be satisfied. Credits are based on what we can do to help our sisters and brothers meet their needs. On Venus, we even have a Department of Happiness to oversee this process.
Okay.
Continue in the light of Venus. This is Commander Orda Rahnes. Blessings to all in the ultimate victory of the light.
That was lovely. I selected that because can you imagine the concept of having a Department of Happiness? And I have to tell you, Rob, when you brought Cosmic Ray on to the GoldFish Report in the past, he said that. He told everybody. I mean, so this was the second time I've heard this, but I've heard it now directly from her. And he did mention this, a Department of Happiness. Can you imagine?
I didn't even remember that he said that, but I'm about not only bringing Raymond to the report, I'm bringing him to the world. He is such a sweetheart, and he needs an icebreaker like me to kind of lay the groundwork, and then all questions, and you can kind of hang out with him. And he radiates a tremendous presence of calm, peace, and he's always laughing. He's he's quite knowledgeable. He's very wonderful metaphysical teacher for me, and I've expanded my learning a lot with him. So we've talked about time travel. There are more aspects, and we'll do this in the next show. Let's get straight to the questions. I'm ready to answer any questions. I think I can do a pretty good job.
Okay, this is the Q&A part. This is the super chat part, folks. So we are asking that if you want to ask Rob any questions directly, to make a super chat donation in the chat, and we can get those questions answered. We did have a few people actually make some super chat donations. So if you have any questions, they didn't indicate a question. Let me just see who they were. And we have William, Hannah, and we also have Gary Sigler. If you guys are still here, would you like to ask a question for your super chat donation? Anybody can open up the questions at any time for Rob. So Rob, I thought it was very interesting because we're going to. This was just the beginning. I mean, the answers she gave. It's just amazing that you're actually talking to a commander of a moon base, Clarion, on the backside of the moon. I mean, how awesome is that? And one of the things I wanted to screen share really quick for our viewers is just to kind of validate this. I just wanted to screen share something that our president said just recently. And I'm not going to play the interview, but the quotes are right here. You have President Trump. Let me see. This is from space.com. You have President Trump meeting with the president of the prime minister, the Australian prime minister, and they're talking about space travel. And they're talking about how here, this is what the president said, quote unquote, "We're going to Mars. We're stopping at the moon. The moon is actually a launching pad. He didn't say it's going to be. He said it's actually a launching pad. So that's why we're stopping at the moon. He said, hey, we've done the moon. That's not so exciting. So we'll be doing the moon, but we'll really be doing Mars. So it's such a New Yorker the way he talks.
Yeah.
So and this is the video of it. And just recently, he was there was the press was invited into the one of the meeting rooms at the White House when the two female space astronauts were doing the first all-female spacewalk, and so that was quite exciting. And okay, here's another super chat. What is your question for Rob? Do you have a question? It's just, I think it's just CA, and I love you guys. Do you know what everyone's doing? They're doing 111 11 11 11. You guys are so funny. They're so spiritual. They really get this in such a great way.
You have a question?
I'm waiting for the question. Let's see. Do we have a question?
I'll say when you have it, just raise your hand.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that she's been involved. They have been involved in the French Revolution, the American Revolution, the Caribbean Revolution, the South American Revolution. And I was like, when I heard about that from Raymond, I said, wait a minute, they were involved in the revolution? And I said, yes, they were talking to our founding fathers. I don't know if I mentioned that in our previous show, but they appeared to Thomas Jefferson, James Monroe, George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Paine, and others. They would appear and they gave them the philosophical ideals. And our founding fathers had secret lodges. One, actually, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson were a member of the Venus Lodge. It was a secret lodge, and similar to the Theosophical Society, which, you know, you have a question now?
Yeah. I'm sorry about that, Robbie. I do see that.
No, go ahead.
How do this is our first time, so we're doing pretty good. How do these people coincide with Ra from the Law of One? Ooh, good question.
Well, the Law of One is good material. I've read it. It's very positive. And first of all, you have to understand, I'll go into the history of Venus. It's called the Way of the Bee. Now, the Venusians, they're originally called the Norcans, are from Tau Ceti. But Venus was originally a planet of bees. The highest sentient consciousness was a bee. And a long time ago in the Syrian shift, which is information I wanted to share, wasn't before, their expansionist forces from the Pleiades and Aldebaran were utilizing a Vril technology and kind of going out and conquering planets. And in the Syrian shift, they created hybrids, including the blue avians, the kind of half-human scrawny chicken, and as well as the bee people. They came to Venus and they said, oh, humans and bees, what a perfect farm worker. And they actually genetically spliced us. And we have this information is contained in the Inside the Earth, Radu Sinamar, Peter Moon, secret underground complex in Brusigi, and I recommend you look that up, folks. And this was dramatized in a modern day movie called Prometheus, where they land on another world, go into this giant spaceship, and it's kind of dark, and they're doing it, and you know, there's always a dark side in here, and have to have lots of explosions. But one of the interesting things was these giant chairs and tables, and they put their hand over them, and you could see the genetic species pop up when you put your hand over it. In Brusigi complex, they put their hands over them, and you see the species look like splicing. So this is done. It's not happening anymore, and that's why these super councils are created to create harmony on the physical plane. So the way they're of one mind is because when they were genetically spliced together 18.5 million years ago, they were unable to access the technology that was left behind, because whether they were the Aldebarans or the Pleiadians, they died. And much like the War of the Worlds scenario, a comet hit Venus, brought up bacteria, they died, and all that was left was like the bee people who were living in caves. So this is an amazing story, and you have to read Dr. Raymond Keller's books. Again, I can't emphasize enough the important metaphysical information, and he gives a lot of information there that seems like pulp culture and humor, but a lot of it's real. including the time travel stuff. So they're of one mind. So they actually have a pod collective, and I won't really go into that, but they're of one mind because they're actually telepathically linked, and they don't need a book, the law of one. They live it. They wake up and they're telepathic. Things are quiet on Venus, Raymond said, because everyone transmits through feelings. And the women actually communicate with the 5-foot bumblebees by putting their left hand on. It's the telepathic communication with the native inhabitants bees is pretty much in the realm with the women. Any other questions?
Not at the moment. Do you want to now, folks? Just to remind you that if you want to ask a question, it's a super chat donation, so you can put the super chat in the chat and ask your question at the same time. This is our first time doing this, so we're definitely. I think we're holding it down. I think it's going pretty well. So, Rob, while we're waiting for more questions, do you want to go over the list of questions that you had asked, so that we can preview what's coming up?
Well, I can go into these other things. The super chat, I mean, I would like to see the people support you. It's not my my thing here. It's your thing. But, if people can't afford, I mean, do you have a limit on it? Can they give $1? I mean, look, people, I'll answer questions all day long.
Yeah, look, I mean, you could put any donation in there that you like, so you could do that. I was,
this isn't for me. This is to support
the GoldFish Report.
The GoldFish Report. Yeah. And if you people who are listening, you don't have any idea how much she works. And I just say she works a lot. So I'm sharing this now. I'm going to let you read this. My computer, I got to go get my plug to get me back online.
No problem. I'm just going to explain because
read that out loud.
Well, Rob, I'm going to just explain that the reason we're doing this is because after over 400 reports, we're offering, this is a very expensive service for Zoom and all the subscriptions that we need in order to broadcast this live for everybody. So it's not just like we're sitting here as YouTubers. There's a lot of effort and work and time and preparation involved in this. Okay, we have another super chat, Rob.
Okay.
Thanks, Adam. The next super chat question is, can you stop screen sharing for just a minute? Just so they can see your face when you answer the question. How can you be certain that the Venusians are not simply the shapeshifters from this planet attempting to deceive you as they have for ages? Adam, thanks for your super chat and thanks for your question. It's a good question. People don't know. So you can ask.
I know. I appreciate that. But I know that by the message. I know that by the feeling. And I've been in this field. And if you can't relate to a contactee like myself or Alex Collier or anyone who's had real experience, then you just have to do it. I'm sure, because I know, because I've had previous lifetimes and I've been prepared for this mission on one level. On another level, there's no one who knows so much, that they can't be humbled, and there's no one so humble that they can't be exalted. So this isn't about me as a person being special. This is simply, you have to make your own decision. Look at my history, my friends. I've worked with Dr. Fred Bell and the Pleiadians for 25 years. I work with Gabriel Green. I work with Dr. Frank Stranges. I support Alex Collier. I have worked with Cobra. I do not anymore at this time, but I work with Louis Martens and I work with Raymond, and you have to make your own decision on that. So I know they're not shapeshifters. They do have an ability. Hey, folks, they have a technology. Guess what? If I'm let's say I'm a being that looks like a lion. They have a technology. I can step through a doorway and I can transport myself to Earth, and I can have a human body, a smoking hot human body. Now, the Venusians don't need that. They keep a very diverse genetic pool there, and they don't need to be shapeshifters. Although some beings who come here, because of their look and interaction on the Earth, they'd have to have an earthly body. So the government can't compete. There's no way they can control them, and their security is so very tight. It's for the fourth dimensionals, it's not a problem. For other third dimensional planets like us, trying to reach the fourth dimension, it might be a little different. But
Okay, we have another super chat. We have Nancy Proaño, and I don't see a question, my dear. So if you could just let me know in the chat whether you have a question for Rob, that would be great. We also have, so thank you for your super chat. We also have a super chat from Careful Carpenter. Thank you so much for your super chat. Do you have a question for Rob? I don't see it in the chat, but I will wait for it. So
okay,
we
I'm going to go
have,
ahead and I'm going to
okay.
I'm going to read the message so the other people don't have to listen to the people while they wait. So it says, it's October 2nd, 2019. I'm with it Alon. Just raise your hand when it comes in. I'm with Alon in an undisclosed location in the eastern United States. First, many thanks for your kind words. You're much appreciated by me on many levels. I want you to know that. Here I have a word of introduction about Alon. He is a member of the Shanaruna, otherwise known as the Earth-based security detachment at the service of the Queen's Collective on Abahar. His first and only incarnation on Earth took place in the late 6th century BCE under the reign of Darius the Great at Persepolis, the ancient ceremonial capital of the First Persian Empire. He was born into the class of Magi, a high court magus and beekeeper in the Zoroastrian religious tradition. This is Publius Virgilius Maro turning the time over to Alon. Alon will read the questions and will answer them to you to the extent permitted by the collective, and I will type the responses as they are given. So Virgilius Publius Maro was Raymond Keller's first incarnation. He was the primary scribe for the very first Caesar in about 100 BC, and he was known as the poet Virgil, who was having encounters with Lady Ankara in the Roman classics. And Lady Ankara revealed to him in that incarnation she was from the planet Venus. Lady Ankara, ladies and gentlemen, is now the translated ascended master, Annalise Guerin, who is the commander of the cigar-shaped ship called the Isis. Next question.
Okay, Rob, we got some more questions. We got some people with some real sense of humors out there. Careful Carpenter
Okay.
has asked, I think he was just joking around, what about goldfish? Why are they here? To bring you the news. So let's see. Do you have another question for Rob? Careful Carpenter. I posted it above. I see. Was it above the goldfish question? You get a sense of humor. Nancy has a question. Thanks for your super chat too, Nancy. Have the Venusians spoke about Sanat Kumara? Sanat Kumara. There is
Yes.
a legend that, let me just finish the comment. There is a legend that he came to the earth with 144,000 to save the earth eons ago. Thanks for your question, Nancy. Do you want me to repeat that, Rob?
No, I understand it. Sanat Kumara is one of the Kumaras, and the evolution of consciousness in the Venusian secret science of ascension is basically as a soul develops from literally the etheric planes into the physical planes. You would go through what are called your consciousness would spend how many millions or hundreds of millions of years being in the mineral kingdom. Eventually, you would become a gold and you would refine yourself, and then you would go into the vegetable kingdom and you would eventually become the sweetest smelling flower, and then you go into the animal kingdom and rise to the highest level of the animal kingdom, and then you individualize your consciousness and become a human. And so there are rounds of existence. Now, traditionally, Mars is the first physical incarnations, somewhat on the etheric plane on some planets and some of the moons on Saturn, but a physical incarnation would be on Mars. If we were to go back there, we'd be bored. It's the same thing. It's kind of the beginning. And then we would come to the Earth, where we fully flower into the material plane and learn and experience things. And then we spark what is known in esoteric circles as the path of return. And this is the return where we go within and return our consciousness and ascend in our body, where our body becomes a frequency receptor of positivity and consciousness. And so that's called the path of return. And on Venus, we begin to develop, as we get there, develop what is called the solar body. And this has to do with J.J. Hurtak. If you break down the spiritual bodies, the epikinetic, the kinetic and the gematria and the various bodies of light that are actually have scientific basis in science and understanding, that's what we're doing, is trying to recreate the solar body. So to answer and give answer to Sumat Kumara, there were some Kumaras born on Venus who attained a solar body. On one incarnation on Venus, they achieved this high level of celestial angel, much like a being on the sun. He was the embodying consciousness of the planet, his entire body and soul the planet, and he was known as kind of the ancient days or the logos of the planet. He has since returned to Venus, according to Omnek. Omnek said she actually knew him. So yes, I'm aware of the Kumaras. Next question.
Okay, I just wanted to ask Careful Carpenter if you have another question related to the Venusians. I'll be waiting for it. We have Delise Calote. Thank you for your super chat, dear. Do you have a question for Rob? Please make sure you put that in the chat. There is a little bit of a lag, a delay, because we are broadcasting from a different application to YouTube. So we're not directly on YouTube. We're in another application. There's a little bit of a delay getting to YouTube. So if I don't see your question, just give me a minute and I will, you're welcome, Nancy. Just give me a minute and I will see it eventually in the super chat. So I want to thank...
Okay, I want to go back to I want to get the information, because this is great information for them. I'm surprised maybe the super chat idea isn't working, which is too bad. I'm sorry for that, but
it's working well.
Okay, well, it's only had like one question, I think, so or two. So let's go forward here. So here's what Alon says. It's a great pleasure for me to answer your questions, Brother Rob. Just raise your hand if you actually have a question. It's a great pleasure for me to answer your questions. Okay, we have a question. There we go.
We do. This is it. Okay, so Delise has asked, do they visit Alaska?
Of course. They watch over the whole planet. They've got like 174 ships here, and each of those ships have planets or ships in the higher dimensions that monitor and watch everything. They're very much involved. They have 10 stations around the Earth. The Ashtar obsession of many people. Ashtar is a derivative of the Greek name Astarte and means Venus. Ashtar is one of the commanders on one of the primary, there's about 10 stations around the Earth that are cloaked, and they are monitoring and watching all ingress and egress to the planet, and they're very much defensively oriented, as they said, observing time things and stuff like that. So Venus is obviously they visit Alaska. They go skiing. No, I don't know. Any other questions? All right.
It's just taking me a minute to go through. You know what? Okay, we have a question, but I have to tell you that it will be in the next section, because this was one of the questions that Rob had asked that was in this interview, and just because of time, we can't play the whole interview yet. But the question of evil did come up, and that will be a question that they will address.
Okay,
and
I'm going to let them address it, but I actually want to read something here.
Okay, hold on. Careful Carpenter has asked a question now, but I'm not quite sure what you mean. How do you treat your wealth creators on Venus? I'm not sure what you mean by what a wealth creator is.
Yeah, they don't have money. It's just prosperity. And as she said about money, basically they found out the solution was instead of having people give us false philosophies and create a system of lack, it's open and transparent. They all work in a brother sisterhood because they live by the law of one. They are one collective. Their one mind serves the eternal positive principles of love, light, and life. So I want to talk about evil because I asked that question as a general term for people, because there's definitely people doing bad things. But I'm going to read this to you. This is my understanding of evil. Evil is the error, or evil and error. Error is the penalty of imperfection. The qualities of imperfection or facts of misadaptation are disclosed on the material level by critical observation and scientific analysis. On the moral level, by human experience. The presence of evil constitutes proof of inaccuracies of mind and the immaturity of the evolving self. Evil is therefore also a measure of imperfection in the universe interpretation. The possibility of making mistakes is inherent in the acquisition of wisdom, which is the scheme of progressing from the partial and temporal to the complete and eternal, from the relative and imperfect to the final and perfected. Evil is not an actual universe quality. It is simply the observation of a relativity in the relatedness of the supreme and ultimate. Evil is a relativity concept. It arises out of the observation of the imperfections which appear in the shadow cast by a finite universe of things and beings. As such, a cosmos obscures the living light of the universal expression of the eternal realities of the infinite one. Evil, therefore, exists only in the minds of men and is felt as discord, which dies in the fires of wisdom and is consumed by the breath of harmony.
Okay, I wanted to make a comment. One of our super chatters has a comment here. William, if you have a question, Rob will be happy to answer it. But he has a comment, and his comment is, from what I understand, there is negative and positive energy. Evil is a judgment of negative energy. What do you think, Rob?
I think what I just said answers the question, and I think people need to rerun that and play it and listen very carefully, because it's not a universal quality. It's basically exists here in the dualistic, materialistic planes. Mm-hmm. In the higher dimensions, they do make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. They're inherent in the acquisition of wisdom. So there are always laws or gnoses or realities of experience that can transcend. Once one becomes an archon, and archon's not a negative thing, it simply means one who can control matter. On Venus, they have archons, and don't believe Cobra's description as, oh, that's a negative being. It's one who controls matter. That's the definition. So adepts, ascended masters, those beings, we wonder how we will become, our technology will actually become archons, and that we will create replicators and we will manifest these principles of materialization. But we have to go through a development of the spiritual virtues and connecting to the divine in our life. And despite this revelation, this is really about connecting and just giving you light workers faith that they're here. And we're going to be asking a lot more. I'll be presenting a lot more information. I pretty much found out I don't ask questions in regards to political things or other contactees or what people say. They simply want me to focus on spiritual gnosis. So those are the questions. And I'm going to go into the history of Atlantis, Lemuria, and other questions of ascension. Does anyone have any questions about ascension, translation, time travel?
Right. So just for new viewers who just for new viewers, how this is working is this is a super chat section of the interview. Now we're at an hour and a half into this special live stream. At this point we're at a super chat Q&A. So if you want to make a super chat donation, you can ask a question. It looks like you have to do them separately though, because it doesn't look like it's going to let you type in the question when you make your super chat. So William has a question. What is your deepest understanding of love and how we connect to it, to our ascension? How we connect it to our ascension. Let me rephrase this. What is your deepest understanding of love and how we connect it to our ascension? There we go.
Okay. Love is a feeling. You know, what's better than a good feeling? When you think about it, nothing. So for me, obviously, I've achieved tremendous levels of communion with nature and the spirit of truth, or God, or whatever you want to call it, and this is what's motivated me from my teachings and experiences. When I was very young, I was having ecstatic, visionary type experiences, which were very hard to explain. And I realized that the solution was for humanity to tune into this ability to love, really. But as I said in the very beginning, I don't know if you heard, but if you listen to my poem, and thank God this is being recorded, you go back over it. She talks about, what if I have this and that? I can move mountains. I have faith. I donate and serve, and I do this. If I don't have love, I'm a clanging bell. You know, I'm so stressed out. I mean, I don't know how she does what she does, Louisa, but I mean, I'm on the computer. My screen time, I got to notice your screen time was up, 10% to 9 hours and 15 minutes a day for 7 days. Since this has come out, I've worked very hard because of my love. So love in action is the most important part of our ascension. So what brings about love? It's a realization of the nature of the law of one, that you are one with everyone else. So if you have a question, that's my relationship to love. It's the key to ascension.
Okay, we have another question from R. Thanks for your question, R, and your super chat. What is the most important thing we as humans and spiritual seekers should be focusing our energy on right now? Thanks for your question, R.
For me, I never tell anyone what to do. And I think that's one of the reasons that I'm not telling people you have to stand up and do a certain exercise or you have to eat a piece of bread. There's no ritual or way to achieve ascension. It comes from an eternal process, a recognition of the sacredness of all life. I would recommend, I'm going to make some suggestions which have worked for me. I've turned off my television. I have a Netflix and I watch certain movies and every now and then I'll go and watch a football game. I enjoy sports, but there is a constant mind control AI intelligence through the constant, endless actions of violence, creating a spiritual disruption. There is a tension and a fear around money that paralyzes us. So I would recommend emancipating ourselves in the way of the V, which Nikola Tesla tried to teach. And some people talk about it as, 3, 6, 9, which is actually the Fibonacci series proportions, which is based on the number of pi, which Einstein said the universe physical plane is an illusion. And if there's no other questions, I'll go a little farther in that. So everything is electrons moving around protons and neutrons. So they revolve around, and they don't go like this all the time. They actually go and they jump. They oscillate and jump, and then they move really quick. So those of you who understand physics and the Wilson cloud chamber and particle physics, the quantum field comes into play here. So when you take an atom you want to see an atom on a cherry. Let's blow the cherry up to the size of the Earth. I'm now standing on the Earth. I pick up, a cherry, another cherry off of the cherry. That's an atom, and it looks solid, but reality, it's just a proton and neutron revolving with a grain of salt revolving around. That's all we can see. It's this grain of salt. So we poke it, it appears to be real, but there's really more space. So that's the illusion. It's constantly changing, and as quantum physics shows us, it goes with the interaction of the observer. Where you place your attention is energy follows thought. So realize this, folks. This is why it's important. I get caught up on the computer. I get stressed out. I mean, my friend Len Horowitz, who's unveiling the vaccine, he works 12 hours a day on the computer, and you get jacked up and it's, you're stressed. So I'm really taking time now I've been learning Qigong breathing. I used to do, I'm taking time physically. You got to still your mind and do two things. One is enter into the silence. And this is called meditation, meditare. And that is done through the science of Kriya Yoga, or the science of the still breath and emptying your mind completely. And I was taught Kriya Yoga by the Babaji of the Yogananda books, Autobiography of a Yogi. And so that's one method. The other method to raise your consciousness and to focus is to prayer. And that's talking to God and then being able to listen. So in humility, realize and look around you at the abomination that's taking place and shrink away from those evil or imperfected actions and false philosophies that we've allowed to take place. As you will learn in our next talk, we must emancipate ourselves. And we'll talk about the way of the bee when Raymond can be on next time.
Yeah, we have, this has been such an incredible time that we spent together, Rob. Everything's gone so well. We have 15 minutes left before we close this up. We still have 15 minutes left to do Super Chat Q&A. I see some people are looking to see how do they do Super Chats, and there should be right under your emoji box a little like keyboard icon and a little $ icon. If you click that $, that's the button for the super chat. So I believe that. Okay, you're not set up to do super chat. You can go to our website.
We'll take a couple questions. If we don't get any more super chat questions,
Rob, we're going. Yeah. Candace, you can go to the GoldFish Report .com, and right on the front page is a donate button, so you could donate there. So if I know you're going to do that, you can ask your question. Okay.
So I'm going to continue
at the end of your name. Oh, that's not fair. At the end of your name? Oh, you mean, I'm sorry, I thought that was a criticism. No, okay, Anna Clara, thank you. Oh, look at her, 555. She's so amazing. Okay, Rob, we have another question. We hear a lot about the event and a grand solar flash coming. How do the Venusians see this, and how does this relate to ascension? Great question, Anna Clara, and thanks for your super chat.
Okay, there's a series of vibrational upliftments, as actually what people don't realize is that our galaxy is colliding with another one, or maybe a million years before actually 3 galaxies collide into one. But as we go through various densities and areas of space, there are influences that are changing and raising the vibration of the planet. This pulse from the galactic central sun, which we would think of in terms of electricity in harmonics or in an etheric web or whatever you want to call it. It's like the acupuncture lines or the nerve synapses in the brain. They're connected from a central source, which is consciousness. So this higher dimensional divine light energy focuses through the galactic central sun and through the various suns and affects our sun. The sun goes through a series of solar flares all the time, and they are increasing. And what's taking place is the solar flares will activate junk DNA. So I don't want to blow anyone's boat out, and I don't need any negative comments. Just take this for what it's worth. There's no 12-strand DNA. There may be eventually, but I don't know anyone who can show me even a 3rd strand of DNA being verified. And I'm sorry, but I'm very scientific, and we need to investigate all these things carefully. So like the 5th dimension. Look, the 4th dimension ain't so bad. Be like Venus. We can travel the time pathways and grow, and it's great. So, I'll just say that as far as that goes.
Okay, so we have Nanacha. Thank you for your super chat, dear. Your question is, what does Rob think regarding the financial reset, the RV? Great question, and thanks for your super chat.
I don't really pay attention to the money anymore. Cobra made some theories and postulations, and he's hinging his things on things happening like that. And I'm very clear now that's not happening. So it's a slow roll. You look at even the forces in the military who have seen all the evil and have a tremendous knowledge of what's taking place with the ETs and the compartmentalization and the secret space technologies and all of this stuff that these elitists, the level of evil or misadaptation or error that's taking place has just barely begun to scratch the surface. Most people will explode. And you realize now that their manipulation through the television is causing tremendous polarity. People are fanatical about Trump or fanatical against Trump. Don't place your attention in the spiritual planes. As Semyasi said years ago, do not seek the manifest. So seek the inner light and focus on that, and all things will be added unto you. So this is the message of the Venusians. But in my opinion, something is going to change. Because we are so into this financial system and we're so believing. I mean, look at these stock guys, all this and that. It's all manipulation. It's the Wizard of Oz, smoke and mirrors, jumping the thing up, and the big money boys. As we know, 1% controls 93% of the world's wealth. And they will not give it up. They will fight to the bitter end. So we must gather in groups. We could call them pods, with no more than 13 in various associations. And the Venusian style, that Raymond will talk about more specifically, is that we would all put our money into a kitty that we would all use for each other. And so that's how they do it on Venus, is they just keep working. Everyone serves. You get more credits the more service you do for others. And if everyone wants to get a magnetic car, then everyone works until everyone has a magnetic car who wants one. There's no lack. They don't have insurance. They don't have. They build everything really good. They don't build obsolescence. They don't have 50 types of cars with engineering and all that nonsense. They don't have banks. So many of our jobs are just pushing papers, part of these endless laws and ordinances. We have to live freely and expand our thinking to outside of this literally machine and box that we've allowed others to put us in, while they withhold light. Light is knowledge. Knowledge is power. So they keep us disempowered by showing us that they control the moon and this, and they keep the real truth and the liberating technologies. But due to that subtle alien intervention, which has given us, as she said, technology beyond our spiritual attunement, we have to find a way to prevail. And this emancipation answer lies within you. And how are you going to do it? I'm not going to tell you. Look within.
Well, we are in our last 10 minutes of our live stream. I think I can't speak for Rob, but I can tell you how much I enjoyed this. I absolutely enjoyed interacting with our viewers. And, I do enjoy interacting on our YouTube channel when, our original channel before it was deleted. YouTube deleted our original channel with our first 200 reports. And, Rob, it was our very first interview that we did that was deleted. And I am very slowly trying to restore the archives on another YouTube archive channel, but it does take time for that. And just extreme amount of what do you call it? What are these things called? I'm sorry. What's the data? The data. Almost so much data it takes to re-upload everything a second time. So,
and it may not even be worth it. They're all done, and most of it's old history. I've had the same thing on my side. I have a lot of stuff. I'm trying to clean it up. So, I would like to mention, do check me out. I'm going to create a conference this summer. It's going to be more intimate. It's going to be for 5 days, and the Queen said she might dispatch an angel force to join us at some of these events that we may be having. They came last year, and there was one that came to Portal to Ascension when I was speaking there. I couldn't say anything at the time, but lots of good stuff happening. And it's, again, this doesn't mean I'm any special. You have entertained angels unawares. It's about our service to each other. And to be honest, in a lot of ways, I'm just servicing myself, just trying to keep my life above water. And that's the nature of the Matrix. So my website, The Promise Revealed, should be getting some upgrades. All this information will be given for free. And if you've donated and haven't asked questions, thank you for sharing that with Louisa. We're going to do it next time. I didn't get through even a quarter of it, really.
Mm-hmm. Rob, could you unshare your screen there so we can see your face as you're talking? Thanks. And I'm waiting for Jane. She has a question. She did do a super chat, so I don't know where her question is, and I'm looking for it. So Jane, here it is.
If we chat unless they pay, because it looks like
excuse me, Rob. Okay, so if I were to meet a Venusian, how would I recognize it? If I were to meet a Venusian, how would I recognize them?
You wouldn't physically. It'd be an inner feeling for me, because I've had a lot of experience. It's a telepathic. I know who they are when I see them in public, and they confirm this in some of my private messages. And I'll reveal those. The private messages to me, I'm not going to reveal to the general public. It's just too open to.
Sure.
I'm already going to be swarmed with attacks, I'm sure, but I don't mind about that. If I had Raymond here, you'd all go, "Oh, leave him alone. He's so cute."
Well, no, Rob, I don't think anyone's going to attack you. I think that you're doing
Well,
your thing, and I just want to just tell all of our viewers in our last remaining 5 minutes here how much I enjoyed interacting with you on the live chat, so in real time. So it was really fun, and it's new for us. It's really new, and this is the way we're going to do it. We are going to be broadcasting the next Trump rally from Hershey, Pennsylvania, on Tuesday night. So watch for that. We'll be live streaming that. Hoping all will go well with that. Is, we have White House press privileges, so we're going to see if we can get our press pass to go and report as a member of the press. Otherwise, we'll be reporting as a member of the audience. So either way, we're happy that you joined us, and we're very happy that you enjoyed this. People have had so many lovely comments as well, Rob. There's been no
oh, good.
disrespectful comments in the comments section yet. There hasn't been
Oh,
one.
good.
It's gone over very, very well, and I really appreciate that the people who were in the chat were very respectful.
Thank you for
Even
that.
even if they disagreed, some people made some comments about other people's work, like maybe some things that maybe Cobra has said, or some other people have made comments about other people's. But as you all know, we have we have we recently did an interview with Alex Collier, who is in contact with the Andromedans, and we're also going to be doing very soon. We're going to have Audrey Ewis return. He is from Lyra, and literally crash landed here, so he's still here, and he will be talking with us about the
That'll be
Pleiadians
interesting. I
role.
might go on that super
Okay.
chat.
Yeah. Anna Clara has another question. Thank you again for your super chat. This is great because in the last few minutes we get to pound away some questions, Rob. How can
Okay.
so many humans have memories of having lived in other galaxies? How would Venusians look at these experiences of so-called starseeds?
There's many star seeds and many people. We're all infinite, immortal souls. The nature of the physical immortality only comes at the final ascension. And as I understand it, you ascend through the fourth and fifth, you can go to these other dimensions. When you reach to the seventh dimension, then you'll go to the complete ascension to the galactic central sun. And some souls don't spend times in the fifth or sixth. They stay on the fourth plane or the third dimension to serve, and you build up your thing, and you can ascend directly from here. That's pretty rare, but they look at that with a great understanding and a knowledge. And these are certain levels of metaphysical questions and things about, I've asked if, a being crash lands another world, does their soul incarnate within that system? Are they drawn back? And so, even Raymond doesn't know these answers. I mean, some of these high metaphysical questions, might be answered by them, but I don't think they're kind of declining on some of the questions I'm asking. So, look, we all have these vague memories, but they're blocked to us because for a purpose, and that's for us to concentrate on the life here. And we're being tested all the time. Are you choosing love over fear? Are you speaking sweetly in kindness with self-control? This is the attention that we need to pay, just like the Venusians who tested the Indian woman, and she ascended to Venus. Actually, she gave a great deal of love and things. So they understand that there are many different races here, and the Pleiadians, when they want to contact their incarnated representatives, must go through the Venusians, because the Venusians do control physical egress as being the representatives of our confederation. 601 planets and 51 systems, including the Pleiades. Remember, there's 215 stars, not just 7. Next question.
Exactly. We're waiting for Hey You Guys' question. We missed it somewhere. It must have scrolled very
I
quickly.
know
So
that
if you,
happens. You got to keep a track of that.
yeah,
That's
no,
what I thought.
I haven't missed one, but like I
Oh,
said, there is a little bit of a delay. So sometimes, if they do come in quickly, yeah, but we've been good. We haven't really missed it because you know what, the viewers are not letting us miss anything. They keep messaging me if I miss somebody's question. Your guys are so awesome. Thank you for doing that, and that's really helpful. But Adam, who had also done a super chat, Adam has a comment and he says. All that is needed is to live life without fear and to its fullest extent, which is what Rob was just saying. Do good works and help your fellow humans. Love and serve what created you. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. I think it's,
it's
pretty much
sometimes
sums up what
easier
you
said
just
than
said.
done. It's sometimes easier said than done. I mean, when my son was younger and he was being a butt, you're just like, "Argh." Especially these personal relationships that are close and we get into these programs and cycles, we need to really constantly monitor our thoughts. We're the captains of our own ships.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I was going to say when you kind of felt like I was interrupting. I was saying, I think they're scrolling out if there are questions. And I think next time, instead of keep talking about it,
Yeah.
maybe we'll have to make it for free because I'd like to hear the questions. I don't want anyone
Okay.
holding back because they can't donate $1.
No, it's okay. With transition, that's not what this was a Q&A live stream. I mean, this was a Q&A super chat. So we can
I
do
know.
it, you could do another time without that, but I can't make it for some and not for others. So
Okay.
we have to offer it and that's it. Okay.
That's a good
So
point.
love is okay. With transition with our will our bodies be made whole without illness?
It's called translation. Now, let me get and answer that question in a screen share because the Queen actually answers this. I'm going to scroll past Valiant Thor's answers and questions for me. But let me get, I got to get out of this real quick here.
Maureen said, we are on you like a new suit. Thank you, Maureen. You certainly are. I appreciate that.
Okay, so I'm going to get into the message and read exactly what the Queen herself says about this. And I'm going to scroll through some of the questions which I was unable to share before. Can you see the screen now?
No, you're not screen sharing. Wait a second. Yes, you're screen sharing. Go ahead.
Okay, so now I'm going to go into the Queen. Okay, you can read that quickly. We're just the cosmic postman by the day. Okay, here it goes. I'm talking about Brother Gabe, a friend of mine and Raymond's, who introduced Raymond to the Queen, and me had a spaceship landed in front of me at a certain point, said, an awareness, while those of Abahar, the planet of the bees, as it means, and some other extraterrestrial planets do live quite extended lifetimes, enjoy a technology those of Terra can only refer to as magic, we of these third and fourth dimensional realms are not gods. About 18.5 million years ago, by the reckoning of Earth time, scientists on Abahar began to study the complexities of DNA and cell composition and its interaction with the electrical impulses which course through a human or even hybrid body. To do this, they utilized the equipment of a long-lost colonizing force from the Aldebaran system. They were scrutinizing the essence of the vital life forces, or vril energies. In this process, they came to understand that the exposure of nucleic acids and specific cell structure to controlled radiation levels could induce a temporal interchange of subatomic particles. This resulted in eliminating the aging process in living tissue. They also succeeded in regenerating damaged tissues through a subsequent acceleration of the healing process. The overall pattern of this process could thus be impressed upon every cell of the human or hybrid body through the infusion of higher levels of vril energies. In turn, this resulted in some significantly expanded lifetimes for all Abahans. In some cases, this extends for thousands of years. However, this process cannot extend a lifetime forever. That's called translation. This is why even the greatest masters in the third or fourth dimension must eventually pass on and reincarnate in new bodies. The immortals, or those you perceive as gods, exist in the lighter densities of fifth, sixth, and seventh, to which we shall one day attain to. Ultimately, we shall all find ourselves in the unity of spirit, totally beyond the boundaries of space and time. We all began in a field of consciousness in the lighter densities and shall one day return there. Some philosophers compare this cycle to that of a drop of rain forming in the clouds, or birth of the individual consciousness, then falling into or returning to the ocean or cosmic consciousness whence we came. Your scientists are on the verge of discovering some of the keys to unlocking vital energies and scientifically extending human and transhuman lifespans. When that time comes, you will be requiring our assistance in dealing with this properly to ensure the smooth transition of your civilization to a new and exciting age of expansion in the countless fields of endeavor. This is the Queen of Abahar. We are in one mind. So I'm going to say this real quick because, for myself included, how do we cure sickness? Well, hello, we don't get sick. How do we not get sick? By following universal law. In our society, we have things that interfere with us. That's why the Pleiadians gave us this technology, the pyramids, the crystals, the lasers. These technologies are helping to raise your vibration, as you heard, to the real tech frequency. And we all have achieved this. This can happen through meditation, through acts of love and kindness, can spiritualize and supercharge your body into a beneficial way. But attaching yourself too much importance to your physical body doesn't matter. Look, if you're gonna pass on, you carry the virtues with you. It doesn't matter necessarily how long you live, but yes, for our long life, we want to follow these universal laws. And I'll be talking about that next time in the Venusian sciences and understanding of certain things. But as she said, and so know this, Raymond told me, they're totally involved down here. They're contacting musicians, either consciously or like there was one brilliant musician, he mangled his hands, they actually healed him in a miracle. They've had other contacts in our science and technology where they're just scientists and they say, don't do that, it would really be dangerous, and they may introduce themselves as Venusians. They sometimes will invisible project into your room and walk amongst you and telepathically communicate with you. So this ongoing work within our society on a technological level is preparing us, because as we move forward, we're not going on the moon in our current condition. I can promise you that. So we're going to have to achieve some things, but they're preparing for it. So, and the healing technologies will be available at some point.
Rob, thank you so much for being here with me tonight. This was a really big, a success. I think this was wonderful. 2 hours we went on this live stream with so much information, and we really pulled this off on the technology level. Everything went smoothly. The screen shares, the videos, the sound, the super chat, the going between screens. And it was, like I said, we're interfacing another platform with YouTube in order to broadcast this live to everybody. So Rob, great job, my friend. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. And I want to thank you all for coming on. I did not get to see the chat, so I'm sure it was kind of a great chance for all of your group to actually socialize. They see each other commenting, but they actually got to socialize. And I'm glad that they kept it on a nice high level of positivity. Yeah. And we'll look forward to next time. And
my viewers are the best. They have been loyal followers, and they're like they said, they're on me like a new suit, and they don't let me miss a thing. And I love them for that. And this is what it's about. This is why we're doing it. It's for them. It's for us. We're all in this together. Where we go one, we go all, folks. So this is going to be just the beginning of a lot more live streams that we're going to bring to you all. And because GoldFish Report is not planning on going anywhere, disappearing. We put a lot of hard work into building GoldFish Report. We plan on being around for everybody. Yeah, okay. It's true. It's true. Okay, so we want to thank everybody.
I had one suggestion maybe. Was that for those of you who are thinking about questions, maybe formulate your questions, watch this again, come up with some intelligent questions, and maybe pay beforehand and get the questions. And maybe we can start the next interview answering those questions for you.
Yeah,
so we can
that'd be great.
do a quick thing, and then I'll do another presentation. And I will bring Raymond on for the next Q&A. And so you can talk about the man who's traveled in time. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
that's it for our live stream tonight, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you for your lovely, lovely comments. Our viewers are the best, and because you know why? Because they watch a lot of people, they watch a lot of things, and they know what's out there, and they know what they're getting. That they're getting good quality when they come to the Goldfish Report. So they know that they get integrity, and they get the the best audios. Yeah, I didn't put my Spanish one in there. I was trying to say thank you in the several languages there, but anyway, to everybody, thank you so much for viewing. This closes our live stream. Rob, it's been a pleasure. I think you will see you will see the chat, Rob, when once this is uploaded, once it gets processed, and it's going to
Oh,
be
okay,
posted
good.
on. It'll be posted on my channel, on my YouTube channel. So this has been great, Rob. Thank you so much, my friend. We did a great job. I think
My
this was a
pleasure. Thank you so
success.
much.
Thanks,
Okay,
everyone. Have a
bye.
great